Hello, hello, hello. Do let me know if you can hear me. Welcome to the Dawnless Days. I am your host, Myron. And today, as the title suggests, we will be fixing Dunland's aesthetics. Now, of course, the guys we see in the movies are a bunch of unshaven, filthy peasants, really, and that's not fitting for a Total War game. So we need to make people that look cool. So, this is what I have here. And that is what we're going to do today. And unfortunately I don't have music, because apparently for some reason YouTube has decided to put ads on our non-monetized music videos. So unfortunately I'd rather have no music than ads all the time. So I will do my best to keep talking, and I was thinking I'll try and talk talk what I'm doing anyway, just because I know that some of you do like looking at my tutorials, looking at the streams for tutorials and learning from them, and those that don't, it might be easier to explain. You might understand slightly better what I'm doing if I tell you. Oh. Let's get started. Let me stop ranting. Hello everybody, thank you so much for joining. Hello, hello, hello. It's just started pouring with rain outside, so I'm a little bit... I hope you can't hear that. Classic English weather. It was sunny half an hour ago. Now, so this is the sketch I've got. And I'm just going to start adding colour. So I did the sketch earlier. That's on its own separate layer. So let's sort of add a slight colour to the background. As it happens, actually, this stream is the first one I've done for exactly a year. The last stream I did on this channel was exactly a year ago, which is a very, very interesting coincidence. It was meant to be. So underneath this sketch layer, I'm going to set the opacity of the sketch layer to 40%, say, and so I'm going to just start filling in the colour underneath. And this is very, very rough. So any questions, do let me know, and I will do my best to answer your questions about the general mod as well. Hello everybody. Jake Gentile, how long is your team expecting until a campaign is released? I know you get asked this a lot, but I'm just curious. I can't say, to be honest. What I will say is that progress is incredible at the moment. It's been, honestly, we went so long, waiting for the tools to be made and speculating, I guess. And now it's here. The tools are made, and the progress of implementing everything into the campaign, into the build, is so nice to see. But as for a date, I really can't say, because I don't know. None of us know. It's a passion project, so people's free time comes and goes. So you'll just have to wait and hope, unfortunately. Elegy, hello. Elegy is our community manager. I believe you're quite low in volume. I'll move towards the microphone more. It's very precariously balanced on my desk, but I will lean in a bit. How is this? And music, for some reason the music Elegy has ads on it, so I'd rather not have ads and no music, unfortunately. I will have to do my best to entertain you with my voice alone. Let's get some colour on this guy. So I'm thinking for these guys I'm going to use a combination of muted reds and muted blues, I'm thinking, just because the brown, the guys in the movie are all brown, and that's boring. Very, very boring. Why not make them a bit more flamboyant, eh? And so the reason I'm doing this colour layer under the sketches, so obviously the sketch detail can still be seen through it. And I'm a little bit slower now, obviously, because I'm having to talk and draw at the same time. So usually this process is very quick. And this is just sort of my standard workflow, if anyone is interested. Dariv, I'm a Discord lurker, but I'm so pumped it's looking so good. It's looking amazing. And you haven't seen what I've seen. There's been some amazing developments recently behind the scenes. It's been great. We've got a very, very hard-working, small but hard-working team of campaign modders who are doing all of Maestro's implementation, and yeah, it's really amazing. Have I missed anything? Sorry, so trying to focus on the drawing and the chat. I'm going to try and answer all your questions. Oh, Jenny's here. Jenny's my girlfriend. Hello. My volume is low. I'll move even closer to the microphone. Igor, justice for Dunland. You are quite right. We are going to make them great again. Don't you worry. And so, for those of you who are wondering, this is the tier 3 unit. So this is your standard infantry. So this is what I usually, when I start a new faction that doesn't have like movie visuals, I will start with the tier 3, because then when you can work up for the tier 4s, or you can work down for the more common peasants, tier 2s and 1s. But it's always good to get the mainline troops designed and finalized first. LG saying, keep going like this and you'll make me reevaluate what my favourite faction is. Oh, thank you very much. We will see. We will see. Hopefully, I will finish this piece by the end of the stream. Just because it's a fairly straightforward, simple piece of art to make. Which means you can get to see my entire process in one fell swoop. Which, again, for the people that like following these as tutorials, will be very nice. It's always very flattering to hear that people have watched these to learn from them. It's not my intention. That's not why I intended to stream. I just want to entertain you guys, but it's very flattering. Sam was saying, don't mess up. Don't mess up the campaign. Oh, that's not the plan. Hopefully, we will do our best to make sure it doesn't mess up, because that we know how much and how many of you are waiting for this, so we need to make this count. We'll make it. And also, so I said that Maestro, I didn't say Maestro, sorry, I said that we've been planning for so long, and Maestro, who is our, he is, I'm not sure what his official role is, but he has been planning the mechanics for the campaign since the beginning of the mod. It's so even though, you know, the campaign was far off dream when he started, he now has this massive database of all the building chains and the ancillaries and all this stuff that goes into the campaign, which he can just use. And now that's made the implementation so quick. It's been great, honestly. Igor, Dunland will be one of the most enjoyable campaigns. The faction is underrated. Yes, I agree. And hopefully with this new visuals, they will look super, super sexy. What I'm excited for is the Dunland / Isengard units. There's a couple of units that are armoured in Isengard's equipment. There's a pike unit and a crossbow unit. So that is going to be fun to design. That's going to be choose the best bits of Dunland and then shoot and, you know, slap on some Isengard armour, slap on some white hands. Oh gosh, that's going to be amazing. And okay, let's get some blue in there, some muted blues. See, I want to have them, you know, lots of colour, but not too colourful. They're not. We don't want to show them that. We don't want to make them look like they're, you know, super elite. But we don't want to make them look like brown, muddy peasants either. So let's get some blues. I might also add some purples in there as well. Although this red is fairly similar to a purple. I am missing all your comments. Right, let's have a quick comment catch-up session. Where are Gondor's armies? I'm not sure. I guess that's for you to decide when you play the campaign. When it eventually releases, of course. Cataphractoi. I hope I said that right. How do you get any ideas for the units? How do you get ideas for the units? What armor they use, what cloaks they will have? Well, so the stats sort of dictate a lot of that. So I don't plan the stats. That's, again, Maestro's area. He's the gameplay guy. So he will say that Dunland has a tier 3 unit that has a longsword, like this guy, a great sword. So he's a shock unit. And then that's the information I have. I know that he has chainmail, and so that is. Hang on, let's go to the trail and let's find this out. Let's show you, because if I show you, it means you can learn to find this stuff on your own. So the Dunland roster, we are currently doing the Chosen Heerban. So you can see here, they're subrace wildmen, their shield, they don't have a shield, so it's their body. Their armour is a hauberk, and their weapon is a greatsword. So that's actually all I have to go off. And then, of course, on top of that, there's movie visuals. But something like this, there is no movie visuals. So it's all in my head. All in my head. Liking the purple tones. Thank you, Jenny. Sandwich saying, I'm positive the campaign will be 10.1 out of 10. Thank you. I am, so am I. I trust in Maestro's work entirely. It's going to be amazing. And we are currently in the testing phase of an early build. Not saying that is anywhere near final. Don't get me wrong. We're not, ready to release this, but we are testing the mechanics and seeing which works and what doesn't. What am I doing here? I'm getting chainmail. And so if you are a seasoned Total War campaign player, do apply to be a tester. Because now is the time, honestly. 88, or Easy 8, sorry. This is one of my most anticipated mods. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sure it'll be worth it. Just hold on a little longer. Vanguard, Maestro is the planner, the designer. He says what needs to go where and what every campaign element is supposed to do. Very, very well said. Thank you, Vanguard. Vanguard's also on the campaign team. And Emiliano, God Myroni himself. I am not a god. I am but a humble artist making my way through the world. Hang on, let me catch up. Uvatha, hello. Just so you know, Uvatha is currently producing our Helm's Deep trailer for the new update. So you will soon see his work on our channel and his own channel. So again, keep your eyes peeled for that. And Igor saying, what made you choose these colours? Well, so this is a sort of Anglo-Saxon design in terms of inspiration. And of course, the other Anglo-Saxon faction we have is Rohan. So Rohan is green, so we couldn't use green. And then on top of that, the Anduin Vale has blue, green, red and yellow all used. So what I'm trying to do is find a combination of colours that doesn't look like either of them. So predominantly a sort of muted red, but then using multiple colours in the same unit, different types of cloth. I think that will make it look unique enough. And Easy 8 saying this will be the greatest Lord of the Rings mod made yet. We shall see. We shall see. I believe so. I am adamant that I think, this is high quality. This will be anyway. Because the quality of the artistry and the effort that goes into it is just unparalleled in my opinion. That's why it's such an honour to work and be in charge of the 2D department of this mod. Dariv's saying, was thinking of applying to test but not sure I could put the time in. Maybe if we're looking again later down the line. I'm sure we will. And we're not stopping after version 1. Version 1 is only the first release. And so there'll be many more things to test in the future, rest assured. And you might ask me right now why I am cheating and using an image. How dare I use an image? Blasphemy. But unfortunately, that is something that I do all the time, because that is what is quickest. And with concept art, it's not about necessarily, you know, making everything super original. It is about making your art the quickest you can while still being readable to the modeler. So the modeler looks at that and he says, oh, that's chainmail, no more needed. So it can be an image. That's why I use images, and it's just easier, and it looks better, to be honest. It looks much better than spending all that time to draw the chainmail yourself. I think it looks fine like this. And I will always do a little bit of 2D touch-up anyway. Xavier, damn, that tool to make the chainmail seems really useful. So yes, the tool I'm on right now is the clone stamp tool. So you have an image, you select where you're going to start the cloning source, and then you go over and you start cloning, and you can see where the crosshair is. That's where it is cloning. So that's a really useful tool. And what I'm going to do now, I've finished with this. Let's get rid of that. Just a little bit more chainmail to do. Already looks so much better now he's got the chainmail on. Let's move him over. Clone stamp tool again, and we're just going to finish off that portion there. Perfect. Chainmail finished. Now I'm just going to erase the bits that are not meant to be there. And we're shaping up to be a nice concept already. Now obviously that's not everything, that we are going to go over and touch this all up properly and make it look nice and painted in just a second. Let me just finish with the colours. And please, any questions, do feel free to ask. I'm here at your disposal, so I will answer anything you throw at me as best I can. There we go. Back to the base colours. And what I was thinking for Dunland, because obviously the crows is an icon for Dunland. You see the crows in the films. And so I was thinking of putting crow's feathers in their helmet. At one point I did consider using a full sort of dead crow on their head, but that would seem a little bit crazy and get very, very smelly. The mic's still low? Okay, it's literally right in front of my mouth now. Let's see if that helps. Let me know if it's any louder. And so the idea for the helmet here is to have the crow. So here's a crow's head here, and there's his body, and there's his wings. So still incorporate some of the crow elements, because with Dunland there's actually very little we know about them. In terms, even the lore is quite vague. We only have one named Dunland hero, which was Wolf, I believe. Other than that, we know that they have crows. So let's use that and milk that as best we can. Giovanni saying, nice helm, it resembles a certain Valkyrie, Thor style. Thank you. Yes, so we're going definitely leaning into this sort of very Anglo-Saxon / Viking aesthetic with them, just because they're next to Rohan, so they would have a very similar technology. Their development will be fairly interlocked. But then we still do want to show that they're not quite as well equipped as Rohan, and they're obviously nowhere near as well equipped as places like Gondor. There we go. So we're almost finished with this initial. I'm going to put a bit of fur on their shoulder as well. I do like a good bit of asymmetry. You know, a veil on that shoulder, fur on this shoulder. I think it adds a bit of uniqueness. Not everything has to be exactly symmetrical. Further, let's get some little leg wraps. Let's use the purple actually for the leg wraps. So we'll lean into slight shades of desaturated purple. You know, they're still humans. They like bright colours. It's the same myth as medieval times when people use the browns and the greys for medieval things, when actually medieval people were humans as well, and they just liked bright colours just as much as we do. So let's get some colour on them. Some nice trousers for them, pantaloons. And some leather boots. Should they have leather gloves or should they have bare hands? I feel it's more of it's a more Saxony thing to have bare hands, so let's give them that. The elites can have gloves. And if you were wondering about my ideas like you were earlier, that is literally, you know, I'm thinking them up as I go along. I did this base sketch, but other than that, I'm going with it. This is all improvised. So your help is very much appreciated. If you have any good ideas, do suggest them, because you know I'm making it up as I go along. So give me your best ideas. Yes, let's catch up with the chat because I have again neglected you. Farfadet, hello Farfadet. He is on the development team. Volume is better. Good. Igor, fair enough. Dunland will indeed stand out among the armies of Uruk-hai and Orcs. In terms of colours, their armies are pretty dark and purple, and a purple one will be pretty fancy. Yes, that's the idea. That's the hope. Because actually, Dunland, you know, they get lumped in with Isengard, but actually they are their own thing. We want them to be independent. And, you know, if you want, you can turn on Isengard. Ally with Rohan. Burn down Isengard. And then so then to have loads of Uruk-hai stuff in your ranks would seem odd because you're at war with them. So we want them to be fairly unique. Izzy, hello. Have my babies. Oh, well, gladly I would. And Xavier saying, honestly, I have always thought of Dunland as a Celtic light, like the bulk of Britain's population before the Anglo-Saxon migrations. Yes, indeed. It's a good way of putting it. Concept looks amazing. Thank you very much. Very neat so far. I like the detail and styling you guys are doing with each faction. I play a lot of Third Age Total War, and the smaller factions like Dunland have little variety. As far as I know, the new Divide and Conquer, the new developers are they've done quite a wacky style of Dunland, or it might be Enedwaith. I can't remember, but they've added a lot of colour and variation as far as I know. But you're right. So these muted brown grey factions, they all look really boring. Just like leather and brown cloth. It's not a good design choice. So I would never like doing that. I'm always very hesitant when a unit is just all brown, or all of one colour, all of any colour really. Is he saying we need more chainmail mittens? I will. That's a good idea. You know, I will do that for the tier 4, the elite guys, the Warlords champions. Let's have a look. What can we do? We've got the So the Isengard unit, the cool one that I'm looking forward to is the Orthanc servants, and they have a pike. So they're going to have a mix of Dunland armor and Isengard armor, and obviously Isengard weapons. So those ones are going to be cool. The Huskarls, the Hill Wardens, and the Warlords champions. I reckon one of those guys can have the chainmail mittens. Those guys will be heavily armoured. Like, I'm thinking the Spang and Helm. Full face covered in chainmail. Dehumanized. Igor saying more Celtic was also the vision of Tolkien. Yes, so his lore accurate inspirations are all very rooted back in the the Dark Ages and the Middle Earth, the early Middle Ages, and yeah, even though we're following the Peter Jackson aesthetics, I think it's still nice to pay homage to that sometimes. So let's get a handle on what we're doing here. So I've started a new layer on top of this. So on top of the sketch, I am starting to add the color variation, the detail. So we need to sort of finalize what we're doing in terms of design. So I've given them some crude sort of metal braces there that they can have, just to give them a little bit more armor, because they are your mainline infantry. We don't want them to look too weak. It's a fine balance. It's a very fine balance. It'll be cool if a unit had a raven cloak. Oh, like feathers, you mean? So like made of black feathers? That could be very cool. I was thinking of giving one of the tier 4 units like a centurion's crest, but made from raven feathers. That could be... well, obviously we'll have to see how it looks, but it may work. Daddy 2 Foot, storming Helm's Deep with these Dunland boys. Yes, where were these guys in the film? We didn't want to see the peasants. We wanted to see the fighting men of Dunland. They get a very bad rap in the film, don't they? Although I guess in the film they are just that. They are just the peasants. There is nothing civilized about them at all, because you see their clan leader swear fealty to Saruman, and if he looks like that, there's probably no dentist within 100 miles of that place. So maybe to use small rude metal plates, different sizes and shapes on the chest weaved into the scale mill. That could be a good idea, you know. So looking at the Trello where we have our stats, so these guys, the chosen Hiban, have a hauberk, so I don't want to mislead the player, because if I put metal plates on them, they'll think they're more heavily armoured than they actually are. And if so, for example, Hill Wardens here with lamellar iron armour, that is something where I could experiment with putting metal plates, because that, you know, to make them look like they've got lamellar plates, and that would not mislead the viewer. Xavier saying nothing more lore accurate than designing for tier 3 and 4 units. I think, well, lore accurate is, in a way, it's kind of out the window in our setting, because we're following the Peter Jackson style. So the higher up you go, you know, the more plate armor you get, which is breaking the law if you're a die-hard fan of that. But I think it is nice to add nods to Tolkien's original vision. Is he saying it would be cool to see more maces and blunt weapons? We typically see swords and axes. Let's have a look at their weapons. Two-handed axe, spear, sword. You might be right. It might be a lot of swords. Sword, bow, sword, axe. Crossbow is going to be an interesting one. I think that's also a Dunland / Isengard crossover. Bloodsworn, axe, sword, axe, spear. I think you might be disappointed there, Izzy. But we can always add, you know, some blunt force weapons into the mix when we add variations. Xavier saying Celtic style shields will work for this faction. Yes, I agree. I think let's get away from... I want to get away from round shields, because that's Rohan. I'm thinking, yeah, like the sort of this type of shield. I don't know if you know the famous ones. It's like this, but like that is a good idea. Is he saying the horsemen took your lands? They drove your people into the hills to scratch a living off the rocks. I can try my Saruman impression, but it is awful.
The horsemen took your lands. They drove your people into the hills to scratch a living off the rocks.
That is about it, I'm afraid. Is it true that Rohan took Dunland's lands? Could be. Oh yes, because the Rohan came from the Anduin Vale, and they were awarded Calanarthon by the King of Gondor, who obviously must have driven out the natives who were the Dunlandings. So technically, Tolkien got it all wrong, and Rohan are the bad guys. So we are currently designing the good guys, which is why we need to make them look good. Joseph Knott, maybe we could have some brooches with different symbols representing different clans. That is a fantastic idea. Thank you. The idea of different clans is a great idea. The two animals I've got in the mind at the moment is first and foremost the raven/crow, but also the wolf. That's not one we've seen represented very much. The crow has also been used for Erebor. So the dwarves of Erebor, if you remember from the Hobbit, the books, they have a lot of respect for ravens, and they use ravens as their messengers. I think crows in Dunland are more of just an animal that they use for spies, and you see Saruman using them in the films. But definitely one of the animals to use. I think a wolf is a great fit. If there's any more, goat cavalry. You can be one of those campaigners, Izzy, to have goat cavalry added to the mod. Xavier saying axes and maces would make more sense for these guys, especially tier 1 and 2, considering they'd be peasants. That's a good point. Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. They would use tools, really. A wood axe or a club, a piece of wood with some spikes in it. Yeah, I'll suggest that to Maestro, because that is a good idea. And Martin Laurent, glad to see you stream again, Martin. I missed it. Thank you. It's good to see you again. I've seen so many familiar faces and so many celebrities like Izzy in the chat. It is fantastic to be back. And as I was saying at the beginning of the stream, it's exactly a year since I streamed last, which is a very happy, lucky coincidence. Not planned, but just it happens to be that way. Cow in Disguise, will the mod also have custom voice acting, sort of like the voice lines in Battle for Middle-earth? Yes, so that's an issue at the moment that we're trying to get around. It's doable, but it's a lot of work. So the time will come, don't you worry. Time will come when we rally the voice actors, and you will all know when that time is. And until that day, you will have to be patient and wait for that, and have to listen to the cries of for Rome. But after that, and we'll probably use a lot of the Battle for Middle-earth voices, just because why record a whole bunch of stuff when you can just take from that game. Steal, shameless stealing. Is he saying no, a goat clan? Oh yes, yeah, I think that's a great idea. I'm just going to write our clan names down here. If you guys can think of names for the clans, if any of you are fluent in Old English, that would be a nice way to disguise it. So instead of saying just the wolf clan, the wolf in Old English, that could be cool. So the wolf, the crow, and the goat, the greatest clan. Louis saying some long beards representing elderly and more experienced units. Yes, so I think they'll be similar to Rohan. They'll have lots of facial hair. I think there might be a few. There's the elder riders. I'm not sure if these mean old people or they're just. No, I think that's just the name. But tribal youths, tribal raiders. There'll be room to put some old people in there. everyone's having to fight for Dunland. There's no standing military like there is for Gondor. So, people from all ages and walks of life will be joining the ranks. Don't you worry. Let's give him a beard. Why not? Makes it more fun. Farfadet Pitchfork. Oh, I have skipped a lot of the chat. Right, Pitchfork. Yes, I'm sure we can put some crude sort of, because the spear units, we can make them look really, really tacky and crude. Definitely. Castmaster. Most of Dunland would be way too poor for swords. Yeah, probably. So that's why I think let's keep high quality weapons for tier 3 and above. And below tier 3, we use fairly rudimentary tools or basic, not very professionally made, unwieldy blades. Xavier saying swords especially would be weird, considering that we know the Dunlandings were rather poorly armed. Swords would come from plunder of Rohirric. Armories and death of soldiers. Yeah, we could even throw some Rohan weapons / armor in there. I don't want to take too much because they're not, it's not huge. They wouldn't have taken that much from them, but I keep pressing this. I've got a drawing tablet that's touchscreen, so sometimes I'm drawing and I accidentally press something with my fingers. But Igor saying the rivalry between primitive Dunlandings and the blonde-haired pseudo-Anglo-Saxon Rohirrim was meant by Tolkien to be analogous to the conflicts between the Anglo-Saxons and the Celtic peoples. It fits, yeah. It's a good comparison. There's a lot of comparisons like that to history that Tolkien does make. Very nicely concealed, so you don't often, you don't think of it when you're told of that, but it is very similar to how Romans are similar to Numenorians. A great civilization where a lot of the secrets were lost to history. It's very scary, dominant, invading force that was then wiped out. Izzy saying, I can voice act an incredibly racist Harad. I want to hear it. We'll name one of the generals after your Haradrim campaign. I can't remember his name. I was watching it just half an hour ago and I can't remember his name. The guy that's done very well. Ashadafa. Right, I'm way behind on these comments, so I'm just going to put the pen down and let's get through. Any tips on playing for a 4K monitor? I have no idea, unfortunately. If you can ask on the Discord though, they'll know. Armored SP, how I'm matching tattoos with the clans. Great idea. Woodland clan. Early Dunlandings are close and ties to the woods of Enedwaith. I was thinking keeping them to animals, because then you can sort of be quite like stylized, and you can do the tattoos really. We can put it down, but I think let's keep it to animals. Joachim, does Dunland have half orcs? No, Dunland does not have half orcs. Is he saying wolf in Old English is wolf? Oh. Crow is krawa or krava. And goat is gat. That's probably a terrible butchery of their pronunciation, but that's very cool. Xavier saying, go for a darker skin and hair colour. The Dunlandings were always described as swarthy and dark of hair in comparison to the fair hair of the skin of Rohirrim. I'm not sure about that, because I know that's in the lore, but if you think about the climate they're living in, they are living right next to Rohan. And I'd argue that they're in an even colder place than Rohan, because they're bordering on Eriador, which is, that's not hot. So there's no reason for them, in my opinion, to be darker skinned than Rohan or Gondor, because Gondor is white as well. So I think we will go against the great Tolkien on that one. Martin's saying, I think Divide and Conquer gave Dunland falcons as weapons for some reason. That's interesting. I think it's a good idea and a weapon unseen in Dawnless Days at the moment. That is interesting. That could work, I will suggest that. Let me just write a little suggestions. Suggestions for Maestro. And so far we have the Folks, it's a great idea, and also no swords for tier 1. So rudimentary weapons. Make them look poor. Is he saying, well, Thorin and other dwarves spent some time in Dunland after Smaug took Erebor, so that could explain some finer weaponry. Yes, that is true. That is true. So Dunland employed them. So they were working for Dunland. So obviously they were more civilized than a bunch of people not going to the dentist. So we got to show that. And I think it's fair to say that the dwarves of Thorin's company were responsible for making a lot of the stuff we see here. Let's say that. That sounds good to me. Is he confirming Ashadafar? Ashadafar is your great general from your campaign, which I'm very much enjoying at the moment. The Elk clan. See, so the elk is used for the woodland realm. So a lot of the other factions do have some animals that we've assigned them. That one's from The Hobbit, really, but if you think of the Anduin Vale, the Anduin Vale has quite a few actually. The Anduin Vale is the Bjornings are obviously bears, but also bees, and then the main Valesmen use a deer, and the Eotheod use horses. If there's any others, there's some other factions like the Wain Riders use a dragon. The Haradrim use a snake, obviously. The Mahuds use an elephant. Those ones are fairly straightforward. They represent the units that come from there. There may be some others, but I can't think of the top of my head right now. Xavier saying, in the case of Gondorian natives, they are related to the Dunlendings, and as Dunlendings, they are described as swarthy. So Gondor, so Gondor is, in the books, I think they have slightly darker skin. In the films, they are played by fair-skinned people. And so, the climate, it makes sense, in my opinion, to have the climates match up. And then, actually, if you think about it, the climates are very similar to our real world. And so, they're fairly cold up north, and then you go to the east and you get more Asian-looking people, which we've incorporated into Roon. And when you go south, obviously, it's hotter, it's desert, so you get darker-skinned people, which we have incorporated into the 3 factions down there and the Variags. Maybe only tier 3s and 4s can do formations since they're more organised. Yeah, that could be interesting. I'll suggest that as well. Lots of hate for the tier 1 and 2s. No formations for tier 1 and 2. Izzy said, I asked ChatGPT for a typical Celtic animal in mythology: stag, horse, raven, boar, salmon, wolf, serpent, bear, cat, swan. Interesting. And it's also interesting that a lot of them we've used. The swan, of course, is Dol Amroth. Serpent, bear, wolf. So the wolf and the crow and the boar. Oh, I guess we can go for boar instead of goat. That probably makes sense. The stag is, of course, used for Andrew and Vale. Interesting. Joachim asking, is Dunland or are Dunlandings available as mercenary units for Isengard? Yes, so you've got a few options as Isengard. I'm just going to group that existing layers. I like working on one layer, so I'm going to copy and paste them, merge them all into one layer. So now I can rub out anything I like that. Much easier. So as Isengard, you'll have access to, I think, it's only a few units. So again, we're not trying to say that, you know, they're one and the same. They are two very different factions, and you know, they have some benefits when they work together, but you can, you know, you've got a lot of freedom to play it how you want to. Okay. Nandish, hello. Venny, hello. Lots of familiar faces. Good to see you all. Hello, Master Myron. I've been waiting for another one of your streams for a long time. Exactly a year. Exactly a year. As I found out earlier. Izzy is here. Yes, Izzy is somewhat of a celebrity among the Total War community. I'm looking forward to when you can get your hands on the campaign, on the Dawnless Days campaign, and Dawnless Days can take over your channel. That is a joke, of course. I'm very much satisfied with your content. Venny saying, I'm glad to see Dunland back on the menu, boys. Back on the menu, boys. Even though they are not a priority for the campaign, still happy to see they get some love. Yes, well, I'm not sure if they're in version 1. They're not playable in version 1, but I think, as far as I know, we do need to have them as a non-playable faction. And then version 2, I think. Oh, they might be version 3, actually. They may not be playable till version 3, in which case we've got a long time to refine them. But it's good to get the ball rolling early. Izzy, I require salmon infantry. I do like the idea. It's a bit crazy, but I like it. Because remember, we don't have Enid Wythe as a faction. So in Divide and Conquer, Enid Wythe is the fisherman faction, so they're very heavy on javelins, as far as I know. And they, you know, they have the iconography of a fish, but we don't have that faction. So we could always incorporate them. So that could be the Enid Wythians. Then they could just have the Enid Wythians as part of their ranks. Ragnarok, hello. Great to see you streaming again. It's good to be back. It's really nice to be back. It's been a long time. And hopefully I plan on doing more of them. He's looking very weird at the moment. Let's try and fix it. I've just been sort of absent-mindedly doodling while I talk to you guys, which is the unfortunate downside of streaming, is I can't quite focus as much on the art as I normally would. So I'm just going to zone in for a bit and let's just focus on getting him looking a bit better. He's looking very wonky. This shoulder needs to be fixed, so that cloth comes out. Something's slightly off. Something is definitely off with this guy. And it's also why I did the sketch before starting, is because it means, you know, the sketch is important to get right in terms of proportion and sort of movement and stance. So that's why I did that before we started, so there wouldn't be any pressure on camera. Is he saying, I will literally buy a new GPU to record the Dawnless Days when it comes out? I'm sure we can set up a charity fund and we can buy it for you. Can't wait to see what faction you'll play first, Izzy. Of course it's going to be Roon. Of course. Roon's going to be quite interesting because you're going to have to do a pretty big Unite the Clan script. So there is the main clan and there's also 5 more clans. So you need to unite 5 clans as Roon before you can train all your units. I think it's just as simple as if you conquer the clan, you get access to their units, but you won't have your full roster until you've conquered all 5 units, all 5 factions, which includes the Variags, because the Variags unfortunately are not playable. And also, what is different from from Divide and Conquer is that there will be 2 Oricani factions on the other side of you. So not only do you have Dale and Erebor and the Woodland Realm to fight, but you've also got the Oricani either as allies or enemies. And there's 2, so there's the sort of quotations good Oricani and the bad Oricani. And we're hoping, I think, that the good Oricani will stay good and you'll fight them and ally with the bad Oricani. But again, that is not till version 2, I think, that they're going to be playable. But Roon is going to be playable in version 1, so... I was saying, is it already known what unique campaign mechanic Dunland will be? I'm not sure, I can't tell you that, unfortunately. I have not got the knowledge on that one. But if you ask in the Discord, I'm sure that someone can get an answer to you. He looks very squashed. It looks like he's sort of squashed his... I think it's because the cloth is so fat that makes him look... Let's make him look a little bit skinnier. I think that's what it is. And also his arm is too short. Whoop. Okay. If Dunland holds the Gwathlo, they should definitely have some fishy business going on. Yeah, that's fair enough. So let's add a fish clan, the salmon clan. And if anyone could find out what fish is in Old English, that would be fantastic. Hounds are another common Celtic animal. Yes, they've... Oh, have they got... They may have hounds. Tribal raiders, elder... Learning hunters. Warhounds. They do have warhounds. So, we could put dogs as a potential option. Maybe that blends in with wolves a bit too much, actually, but maybe they're one and the same thing. Just because that is a literal unit that they have, so that'd be a good one to include. There we go, the cloak over the shoulder. I'm going to rub out the sword because it's bugging me. The pose, this guy's pose is bugging me a lot, so let's fix it. He looks very stiff and unnatural. Salmon infantry arm with long fishing spears. I could see that being cool. Well, I mean, there's javelin units, so we can make the javelin units the fish clan. Yeah. Ayush, hi, I'm new here. Well, welcome. If you would like to find out more, the Discord is linked in the chat, where you can find the download and get any questions you have answered from our moderators. Francisco saying it's going to be epic. Thank you so much. Thank you for supporting us, all of you. because we would not be here without you. I sound like a broken record when I say that. I have said that so many times, but it's true. We would have stopped ages ago if no one had supported us. Not financially, of course, just with your enthusiasm. It's such a rewarding feeling to give something, you know, use the skills we have to create something that people like playing. It's such a good feeling. Keep forgetting my beer. I've got a Camden Hells Pale Ale. I do recommend. Very, very smooth. Very fruity. If you're in the UK, I do recommend it. I got saying, the particular warrior, what is this unit? This unit is the Chosen Heerban. So that's your mainline shock unit. I think, as far as I know, the Axe Heerban are your standard infantry. It's a one-handed axe and a shield. Your Archer Heerban are obviously, as it says, your archers. Warlord's Cavalry are your main cavalry. And Chosen Heerban are your shock. So I think once you get all your tier 3s up and running, it's a fairly balanced faction. Javelins, good missiles, good shock. I think armor is going to be a slight issue. So you're going to have to sort of prioritize high damage and sort of quick attack as opposed to prolonged melee, because I think you'll lose if you're, especially against Isengard or Gondor, you're not going to stand a chance fighting their line infantry. They are just going to be too much better for you. That doesn't make too superior. Giovanni saying, I imagine it's a shock troop. Yes, it is a shock troop. So a big two-handed sword. I wouldn't want him to be running at me on a battlefield. I would run away. Ooh, what have I done here? There we go. Fishing is Fisk. Salmon is Lax. Ah, Gravalax. Yes. What have I done? I've deleted my colours. Right. Colour. And we want our layers as well. If you delete stuff, you just go to your window with the material window with your workspaces and just reselect what you want. There we go. Oh, it's doing the weird thing of that. I always hate it when they go. Oh, well, we'll sort that out later. I love watching Myron rub it out on stream. Oh, what the art? Rub it out. It's always... The undo key is a wonderful thing. Potentially too wonderful. It's dangerous. It's a double-edged sword because you can get too used to being able to undo, and then when you're drawing with a pen or a paintbrush, you know, you realise you made a mistake and you can't undo it. Which is, it's nice to be able to have, you know, it's nice to not have that option. You have to get it right. Nandish, no carapils is better, asked Gyros. Carapils, please tell your Belgian. You're going to have to enlighten me on what a carapil is. Oh, as in the beer. Ah. Nandish is Belgium. Dutch but lives in Belgium. Our friend Gyros is doing it, yeah. This is a good beer. It's a good beer. Camden Hells. I think it's a London craft beer. But it's very, very good. I do recommend. Vanny's saying, maybe you could change the colour of the lower part of the eye protection using silver instead of gold to see the crow design on the helmet. Good idea. Yeah. Let's just select that. Boop. Boop. And Control U. Desaturate. Great suggestion, because now you're right, you can see the crow in its more intended design. And it's still obviously very rough at the moment. I want to make this stream about 2 hours long, so we may not be able to finish this on time, just because, you know, usually I would be able to finish something like this in 2 hours, but because we've been chatting and I have to look at the chat, you know, it's I'm not able to work as quickly. But it's good because it means I get to talk to you guys more. Igor saying Pippin suggested a second artwork. Not in this stream, unfortunately, but in the future, I'm sure you will, because what my plan is because we have three Heerbun units, I will just go through each of those and add variations, and you will see them previewed fairly soon, I imagine. Is he saying popular among students because it's so cheap? Ah, of course. You don't know cheap beer until you've been to Wetherspoons in England. No, I'm just saying, if you saw the new beer emoji in the server, that's Carapel's. Ah, okay. Huge improvement, good chat. Yes, yeah, I think that's fantastic. And also, you know, it's a more valuable, it makes them look more valuable. And we don't want that. We want to make them look poor, apparently. So, you know, limiting the amount of brass ornaments they have is probably better. But we had the suggestion earlier of having, I can't remember the word, sort of badges, to represent their clans, and they can be made of bronze as well. Bronze/brass. He looks a bit too... I'm not sure what's going on with this guy. Let's extend the chainmail a bit. Like so. That's not how we do it. There we go. Tara's saying, where I live, the spoons isn't much cheaper than the other pubs around. Really? I mean, even in London. So London, right, is absolutely extortionate for drinks. You know, your average beer maybe is, in a pub, I'd say £5, £5 for a pint. Whereas in London, you're reaching £8, £9, £10, £15 for a pint of beer. It's ridiculous. And stuff like going clubbing in London is fun, but your wallet, oh my god, because they charge so much for drinks in clubs. It's got to be stopped. It's absolutely got to be stopped. It's shocking, really. But usually, on the whole, Wetherspoons is very, very cheap. You can get a pint there for £3. Cheap pints, mind you. They can reach £5. Oh, he looks like he's doing some weird dance. I think potentially because something is slightly off on him, just because he looks slightly wonky. And, you know, as an artist, you've got to know your weaknesses, and my weakness is definitely sort of proportion and making a character look really fluid, making him look alive, and at the moment he doesn't look like he's alive. He looks like a block of wood. There we go. I feel like I want to add something to this hand. This hand down here is bugging me because it's too. He's not using it. Unless he holds his sword like this. No, it looks a bit weird, doesn't it? I prefer the sword over the shoulder. In fact, let's add that on a separate layer just for now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a hold shift to do a nice straight line, and then just rotate that. Much easier. Get a nice consistent straight line that way. And I guess if, you know, with the Falx suggestion, this could be something that this unit could have the Falx. And I think the Falx is a great idea because that is a unique weapon. It'll be nice to have a breath of fresh air, a fresh of breath air. Oh God. There we go. Let's rotate it a little bit more so that it's actually going over his shoulder and not through his head. There we go. That's a separate layer. I'm going to lock that layer so I don't accidentally start drawing on it. That's why I'm so terrible with layers. It's so much management to have to keep control of each layer that you're working on and make sure you don't touch this layer because of this and this and this. That's why I just like working on one layer. Only when I have to, I use separate layers. That should be illegal. What, charging 15 quid for a pint? Oh. I don't know how to stop them. We need to stop them, yes. I don't know how we do it. I did a pub crawl in London once, going to all the Wetherspoons in London. I can't remember if the Wetherspoons in London are more expensive. I feel they would be. But we went to, I think, 15 pubs in one go. And a pint at each. If they were, that would have hurt the wallet. God. Holding it to a sheath? Potentially. I need to include a sheath, actually. Yes, I will think about that when the time comes, yes. Joachim saying, are Rudar Hillman and Dunland's related? I can't say. Couldn't say. In terms of style, you know, they might be fairly similar, but as far as I know, Rudar was always just Rudauer and related to the kingdoms of Arnor. Dunland was always just Dunland, originating from Calanarthon. So, who can say? Castmaster, I mean, Falx is just the greatsword cooler older brother. The greatsword's cooler older brother. It is. It'll be. That'd be great to include. Allergy is back. Hello. Falx is on an. Lovely progress, Myron. Izzy, sorry, who are you again? Tom's girlfriend. Right, I'm not sure if my girlfriend is still here, but she is in the chat, so you may have made an enemy there. But if she's not, Izzy, we can... let's just go for it. Now I'm just saying we should capture Izzy in the Dawnless Days basement. Okay. You are on record for attempted abduction there. But I think it's a great idea. Great idea. And Mela saying, are there any units in the mod where Gambeson armor is visible? Yes, definitely. Cloth armor is its own stat type. A lot of the new Gondor rework have Gambeson. A lot of the old Gondor rework have Gambeson. And then, of course, there is, yes, units like these. These guys don't have it, but units similar to this. Anduin Vale. There's some Rohan units with Gambeson. Definitely. Hawkeye. Yeah, there are about £6.50 a pint these days. Oh, the Weatherspoons in London. Shocking. Absolutely shocking. Is he saying they go to the same dentist? Who goes to the same dentist? Is it the Dunland'S or is it somebody in the chat? I have not. My mind is too all over the place to follow what is going on exactly, but I will try my best. Maybe the sheath could be some sort of pelt design. Yeah, good idea. Good idea. What record not like this on the internet? Rudar lads and Dunland chads. I like it. I like it a lot. That's what they sing when they go to the pub together. Go watch the footy. The soccer for you American fans. Corentin, do you know when the campaign game arrived? It hasn't arrived yet, unfortunately, so you're going to have to be a little bit more patient. We are working very hard on it, and the progress is amazing at the moment. But unfortunately, we can't give a date on when it's going to come because, you know, we do this in our free time, and people's free times, you know, comes and goes. So it's hard to say, really. And we don't want to give a date and then fail to meet it and disappoint you guys. So. Owen Whitbread saying, I noticed you reworked the Pelagia Marines. Yes, I did. I reworked all of Gondor. So if we scroll on over to Gondor, having the Trello open during this live stream is very handy. Scroll on over. You can see the concept art. There's Boromir, Prince Imrahil, and all our fiefdom generals. Yeah, so here's the Gambesons, if you're interested. You can see the nice Gambesons of the lower tier Gondorians there. But all these concepts, this was about 2 years ago now. I reworked the Gondor fiefdom units, giving them, you know, more brighter colours, more variation in some ways, and more uniformity in some ways. You know, making icons for each fiefdom, like the crossed axes of Lasarnak. These guys were my favourite, the Ringler Vale of Men-at-Arms. Adding in this, the word keeps escaping my mind. The studded thing here. Shocking display, I know. Not a Hauberk, not a Gambeson, it's a... Someone in the chat will remind me. Oh, very disappointing, I forgot that. And there you can see the Pelagia Marines. Just so you know, this Trello is publicly available, so all this information you can see for yourself. Here was the Pelagia Marines, but this themselves was based on our original concept artist Robbie McSweeney's drawing of them, which are these guys, which is fantastic. This guy's very, very skillful. Brigandine, that's the one. Daddy 2 Foot, thank you very much. Very disappointed I forgot that. Izzy, I want you to write a song about the Rudar lads and the Dunland chads. It's too good not to write about. Call it the doodah. Yeah, yeah. That thingy-mabob. Igor saying, sad that we'll only have them in the third release. Dunland's Revenge will be unstoppable. It certainly will. I don't want to say for certain. You know, it might be that they are playable. I just can't guarantee it. I don't want to disappoint you guys. Ring mail. No, so it's the studded. It looks like studded leather, but it's not. It's the historically accurate version. Studded leather is like the biggest myth of fantasy films and stuff. And it's based on brigandines, which is a coat of plates. So it's a leather or a fabric jacket with loads of plates riveted to the inside, which is what the rivets are there for. And so it's a much better form of protection than just a single piece of leather with some metal spots on it. Izzy, okay, we'll do. Let me know when you need it for the next trailer. We could make our own Dawnless Days drinking songs medley. Let's do it. If you write the lyrics, I'll write the music. I play the cello, so I can do some nice fiddling. Add some nice vocal harmony. I've made his head too big. He looks like he's about to fall over because of how heavy his head is. Hello, Nandish and Daddy Twofoot seems to have had a reunion in the chat. I'm glad you two have met after such a long time apart. Izzy, I'll have you know I'm a classically trained pianist. Are you actually? That's cool. Very cool. What is wrong? Like, something is... You know what it is? I'm shocking. Let me give you a quick anatomy thing. So his head is here. And so his body is facing this way. It's nice to sometimes just sit back and sort of visualize the skeleton or the person underneath all the armor, because once you have all these layers and the bulk, it's just hard to... You might lose track of the actual person under there. There's our guy. His body is facing this way. So, why is his arm coming like this? It looks weird. So, I think this arm needs to be further, sort of held further behind him. That on its own, what does that look like? That looks like a fairly normal skeleton to me. So we need to change the arm that is not holding the sword. That needs to go right back behind him. That'll make him look more natural and not like he's sort of caving in on himself. In theory, Izzy, I haven't played in years. Oh, that's cool though. I didn't realise that. I know you play a bit of guitar because I've seen in the streams, but never piano. I didn't realise. I myself have been thinking of getting a piano to get back into it. It'd be good to get back into it because, you know, all that time we spent when we were younger learning instruments and all these skills that we don't have anymore, we've forgotten. You know, there's so much time we put into that. And it'll be, you know, we can get that back really quickly if we try. Because the skills are still there in our head. So I do want to get back into it. Right, how's this guy looking now? Armless. So unfortunately, when we have to improvise on the stream like this, then he starts looking slightly strange. But now he looks too skinny. His legs are too small as well. Right, let's extend his legs. Like so. Make them a little bit thinner. That's a bit better. Let's go with that for now. Now I'm just saying, when piano stream is he? I want to see it. I'm waiting. Piano stream tomorrow. Remember guys, any suggestions for design on this guy, I'm making it up as I go along, so do feel free to chuck stuff in the chat. So that guy, this cloth wraps around like so, because what's important is, ooh, what's that? You do want to, oh, I've lost my swatches. Right, let's get that back. Swatches are great because it's the colours you've used last, so I always, almost all the time, need to like go back to the colour I've used before. So instead of colour picking there, it's just easier to go back here. What you need to think about when you're doing cloth, especially when it's wrapping around sort of a three-dimensional thing, is like how it's wrapping around. So in my case, it's sort of wrapping around, then it's tied in here. So if you're ever struggling with something like that, you want to go back to the simplest form of trying to visualize it, because that will help you so much. It's literally wrapping round, it's tucked under there, and it's coming down. Wrapping round. So that needs to be more like that. This side needs to be more like that. Tucked and fall. And then this side, same as that. That's just straight up falling down from his shoulder. Nice. Okay, let's try and fix that then. So we're going to bring it round like so. So the folds need to sort of follow that. Make it look like it's being tucked in there. But now it looks like he's got a massive balloon on his chest, so we need to fix that as well. Let's bring some mail up. So now it's not necessarily covering all of his body. Also, what's good about having lots of cloth on here is it means it makes him look less armoured. And that's what we wanted with Dundlan. We wanted them to look less armoured because they are poorer. So he's still got the chainmail. He's still the same armour class as a Rohan tier 3, really. But he doesn't look it because he's got so much cloth covering it. Ivar, Mygavine and Marin. Am I right in thinking that's you, Maestro? We've had many questions. He looks like a Gregory. He can be a Gregory. Let's call him Gregory. Can this unit have Warcry? I'm not sure. I'm not sure, to be honest. Isn't that not just the general's ability, a Warcry? No, it's not, is it? It's the one that strikes fear. I don't think this unit will, but there are units in the roster that will, like, or that I think will. Sorry, you know, Huskars. That sounds like some, you know, a scary unit there. Maybe some of the tier 2s as well, the more berserker types. We shall have to see. We'll have to see. Right, let's get the cloth wrapped around more. Cloth is fiendishly difficult. You know, you could study for years and years and you can only just master it after. I am by no means any good at it at all, because it just is so unpredictable in the way it moves. And actually in Renaissance times, that was how you measured an artist's skill, is how well they could paint cloth. Okay, so do you think he needs braces, van braces? Ah, it is Maestro. Okay. So we had a few suggestions about Dunland, and it's mostly about Dunland tier 1 and 2, and it was firstly that people are very keen to have a Fulks as a weapon, just because it's unique and it's like a Celtic thing, and it fits their vibe, and I think it'll be great. Essentially it's the equivalent of a greatsword, but just shaped like a Fulks. The second thing was people thought it was unfitting for, you know, the earlier tiers, the poorer tiers, to have well forged weapons like swords, and mostly people would like them to have axes and clubs. Let's have a look at what they have at the moment. But I mean, actually, it's mostly the case. There's a lot of javelins, axes, short sword. But remember, these swords don't need to look professional. They don't need to look well forged. They can be very, very rudimentary and, you know, almost like machetes. You know, because a machete is something you could also use in a field, maybe, or you know, in a forest. So I think trying to get them, making them look like they're just picking up their farming tools or their everyday tools, I think it makes them more realistic. And the last proposition was that there would be no formations for tier 1 and 2 to show they're not as organised. Maestro saying we have a scare at the moment for units, not Warcry. We have so far reserved scare for the very scary units like Mordor elite units. I think that makes sense. Berserkers as well, I think, have the scare. And we need to make this guy not look as something is off with this veil, this cloak thing that he's wearing. So it's going over his body. Again, going back to visualization. If I can't figure it out, you gotta go back and visualize it. Fulks could replace two-handed axe for the Warlord's pillagers. Nice, okay. And short sword, secondary weapon for missiles in tier 1 could potentially be replaced with axes and the like. Okay. But yeah, again, it could be a really basic looking blade. Now, this goes like this. It's going to go up. That's going to stretch over. The lowered hand should have been holding a decapitated head. Fantastic idea. Let's do it. The age rating has suddenly jumped up for this stream. Oh, we're on the wrong layer. Different layer, okay. Decapitated head of a Rohirrim, let's see. Looking great so far, thank you. Pink, I like how he looks a bit evil, a bit of an evil spin on Rohan / Anduin Vale. Yeah, that's the plan, that's the idea. We still want them to look... We don't want them to look downright evil, because that's... You know, they could be played either way. They could attack Isengard, or they could, you know, in the, like in the lore, ally with Isengard and attack Rohan. But they are not altogether evil. In a way, they're more neutral. Falksman will be epic. Look at formations. Emiliano did some stuff there. Okay, so I think Emiliano has done some cool stuff with formations that we weren't aware of. Hello, folks. How are we doing? Pope John Paul. Hey, yeah, Pope John Paul is another celebrity, another YouTuber we have in the chat with us. It's good to see you. Is he saying it? This took a very somber turn. Hashtag not my Gregory. Oh. Would you rather I didn't have the head? If you can think of a more PC thing for him to be holding, we can change it to that. I don't want to be responsible for hashtag not my Gregory. When it comes to stats, I think the Dunlandings should have high morale. They are a vengeful people who have been kicked around and are probably very bloodthirsty. I think you're right. I think they will have high morale. They'll have high damage, you know, shock units. I think where they will lack is armor and potentially quality. You know, they're not going to be able to go toe-to-toe with Gondor's tier 3. But if you play it right, you can probably use shock and ambush to your advantage. It'll be a fun faction to play. We don't want them looking downright evil. Literally clutches onto a decapitated head. See, he is... Maybe this guy's evil. Maybe this guy is evil. Gregory, he fell. He fell to the darkness. Maybe he's been excommunicated. They don't want him in Dunland anymore, so he's coming to us. Guess who's conferring roster suggestions now with Emiliano right now? Ah! We've prompted Maestro to work on the roster as we speak. Very good indeed. Pope John Paul, I'm no celebrity. Loving the look for this new revamped Dunland. In our small community of Total War, you are a celebrity, as is Izzy. It's good to have you join us. And thank you. Yes, so I'm not sure when this will be implemented, this new look. I'm going to try and concept them over the summer. You know, make them look way better than they do, because at the moment they're just a sort of brown mess of vanilla units, vanilla assets really. They deserve way more than that, so let's have justice for Dunland. Let's give him a belt as well. He's missing a belt, I've just realised. Gosh, I'm all over the place. Ivar, do the famous YouTubers know what's coming their way yet, Myron? Ah, to be honest, I haven't been involved as much in the campaign development, so I'm not sure where it's at the moment. But I do know that our most loyal YouTubers will, of course, get to try the campaign before it goes out, you know. But it's just a question of when, really. And again, I cannot say. I have no idea. Ah, brand new GPU. Thanks, Maestro. Yes, indeed. Pink saying, I mean, some of the clans can be more evil than others. Yes, so Maestro, another suggestion we had was to have the clans, to incorporate clans into the roster. Or maybe not the roster, but the aesthetics. And to have the clans named after Old English animals. So the Wolf clan or the Krava clan. Just to add a bit more culture to them, because they, you know, they're so shallow in terms of what Tolkien gave us. He gave us nothing about their culture, so I think that'd be a nice addition, even if it's just visual, you know, here and there a tattoo or a little brooch. And potentially the variants could have different, you know, there could be a crow variant and a, in terms of in the unit, there could be different models which represent different clans. Hashtag justice for Dunland, justice for Dol Guldur. Are you interested in seeing a rework for Dol Guldur, Nandish? Will we have another stream like this soon? I hope so. I've got more free time now. My work has slowed down a bit, so, you know, I've got a lot more free time. So if you would like to see more streams, I will deliver. A belt would be an ideal place to put a sigil. Yes, you're right. Very, very true. Let's do that. I do like the idea of the brooches. Let's put some brooches, maybe, I guess one here. Hashtag campaign soon. Hashtag campaign when. You're really teasing them, Maestro. Martin's 3D looking fantastic. Oh, is that Luke Martins? Luke was another old artist who used to work on the mod and who did some 3D for us. He concepted Harad and Roon, as far as I know, if my memory serves me right. Only just seen the concepts of the Gondor rework, liking it all very much. Thank you, indeed. No campaign when questions. Izzy saying it's always a good idea to look at Middle Earth role-playing game. It's not canon, but they have some interesting ideas. Yeah, that's true actually. That is one place that has already depicted Dunland. I think they gave them red clothes. I can't remember off the top of my head. And Maestro is saying clan styling is something we can definitely go for in 2D art. Okay, we got the go ahead. We'll do that. It won't affect the gameplay or the roster. It'll just be a nice little visual thing. Now I'm just saying we need a Dol Guldur rework. Soon me and Fingers will make suggestions for Dol Guldur playable faction. Okay. For those of you who don't know, Dol Guldur has been removed from a playable faction list for now. And because we would like to have Mordor be both in Mordor and in Dol Guldur, because technically they're the same thing. It's like having Dol Amroth and Gondor be different factions. They are the same thing. Dol Guldur is just a subsidiary, if that's the right use of that word. It's a sub-faction essentially of Mordor, which is in testing as we speak. Pink saying even if we just add visuals, adds a lot of flavour for them with different looking guys in a unit. Yes, definitely. Lots of variation. It helps make them look unorganised. Ooh, what's this? What is going on here? Blender. I didn't open you. Yeah, so lots of variation does help with making them look unorganised. Something like Gondor, you want them to be as uniform as possible because that makes them look super professional. Whereas these guys, it's an easy trick to do. Professional is uniform. Non-professional peasants is as many variations as you can throw at it, really. Maestro is saying I should design a riddle with the campaign release date we obviously have ready and specified on the top. That would, if you made it really hard, that would drive our fans mad. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see that. Fingers is here. Fingers. Hello. Good evening. Nandish confirming that the plan isn't already... That's the plan. Isn't already confirmed. Dol Guldur will not be in version 1. As far as I know, that's the plan, yeah. And if we find that we do need Dol Guldur, we will add it back. I think. I don't want to say something that's wrong. So if... I'm not sure on that, so I won't answer definitively. Maestro is saying roster update. Falks for pillagers. No tier 1 formations. Tier 1 second weapon axe for lower tiers. Fantastic. So which unit has the... Let's find them. Warlords, pillagers now have a falx instead of a two-handed axe. So they're still a shock unit. Nothing's changed in terms of stats as far as I know. Maestro has just been chatting with Emiliano there. Tier 1 will not have formations to show they're more unorganised. And the melee weapons for Tier 1 and 2, or Tier 1, sorry, are changed to axes. There we go. Igor saying, congratulations, you made the waiting for Dunland much harder. I'm sorry. We will do our best. Bear in mind that once version 1 is out, we're not going to stop. We're going to get straight onto version 2. And hopefully, the hope is if version 1 takes off, we get a lot of attention. It might mean that we have more modders come on board and join us, which would of course mean we get version 2 and version 3 out much quicker. But even if we don't, I think the hype will be a massive motivator. And a lot of the framework will be there, so it'll just be adding the units, adding the adding custom maps, scripts, which, don't get me wrong, is a lot of work. So it's not going to be a couple of months and then version 2 comes out, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see how we do. Maestro saying campaign release date 7. I mean, I don't get it either, so he's done a good job. Elegy saying Maestro actually made up a riddle way back for the first release. Oh, really? I think we should do that. We should do that more. Or we make a some kind of secretive thing that if you figure out the code, it takes you to the download link of the update. You get it early or something like that. Maestro saying, ooh, the riddle is still actually correct, though no one has guessed it in over 5 years. Oh, it's a very good riddle then. Martin saying, yes, you are Luke Martins. 16 to 18-year-old me thought he could handle filling the gaps for Roon units. Had so much fun coming up with the helmets. 8 years on now, which is nuts. Was it 8 years ago? Oh my god. Because I guess the mod was started in 2015, wasn't it? Which makes it 8 years, yeah. Wow. No, it's good to have you back. Good to have you join us. A veteran. We have a veteran in the chat. Elegy saying to Luke Martins, always ready to see your work if you ever have time to come back. We're in dire need of 2D and 3D artists. Yes, indeed. If you would like to come back, you know, you've served your time with us, but if you would like to join us again, you'd be most welcome. And we do need 2D artists at the moment. It's almost a bottleneck actually. The campaign guys are working so quickly that the 2D artists, my department is struggling to keep up with, you know, making campaign icons. We're doing all kinds of UI. There's the, you know, because they're implementing so much because Maestro had already planned so much that it's just so easy to just get it all in game. And we're just waiting on the visual side. And again, 3D's always been a big thing we need. You know, we need units, we need maps, architecture, custom general faces, and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, always feel free to join and apply if you feel up to it. And you learn a lot working with, you know, we have some really, really skillful people on the team, and working with them means you improve really drastically. You know, the more effort you put in, the more you improve. It's free, you know, you have to commit your time to it, but you get a lot out of it. Maestro saying Dol Guldur might be back for release 2, depending on weighing options and testing results. Yes. So it might be back, it might not. We'll have to see. Is he saying we're living in a golden age of community-driven mods? Dawnless Days, Sky Oblivion, yes. Yeah, I think, you know, people just want to, you know, people want to see the properties they love get the love from the game industry, and sometimes they don't get that. So it falls to the fans to make them. I think if they made a Lord of the Rings Total War, Middle-earth Total War, it would just wipe the number. It would be by far the most popular thing they've ever made. Creative Assembly. Because I know, you know, Warhammer's popular, but Lord of the Rings would just blow their socks off. It's just so hard to get the rights to it. That's the only thing that stops them. What I don't get is that they give the rights to these awful mobile games for Lord of the Rings. You see all these Lord of the Rings mobile game ads pop up all the time. And it's just, why are you giving the rights to those games and not to games that would really make it good? Like, I think if Creative Assembly did a Lord of the Rings Total War, I think it would be amazing. Like, it would be everything that Warhammer has with the magic and the flying units and all that stuff. But it would just, you know, the mechanics they could add, it would feel more grounded, but also have these crazy flying things, these fell beasts, massive Muma kill. You know, Gandalf would be blasting people left, right, and centre with his staff. It would be great. You know, especially if they made it feel like a historical Total War. But alas, Alas, it is not so. Ivar Maestro saying 7 was the Divide and Conquer release date. Was that the original Divide and Conquer release date, or is that the version 5? Oh, I remember. Ara here on YouTube kept saying 7. I was never sure what that meant, but there we go. Cataphractoi saying dog handler unit for Dunland. Already there. It's already there. We've got a Warhound unit, which is perfect. So right now I'm doing the tricky task of adding reflections to chainmail, which is very tedious. You can see why I don't draw the chainmail from scratch for concepts, because I'd be here for ages doing that. Is he saying people just want good content and the AAA industry has completely imploded? Yeah, I mean, it's the same with a lot of entertainment nowadays, you know. It's just so nice to see content come out that is actually good. But it's weird, like, you know, with the budgets they have, they shouldn't be failing. Games and films and TV shows should not be failing. Surely someone would step in and say, no, this is not right. Make it good. Make it something that fans will like. But I don't know how they do it. It's like they're blind to what the people actually want. And now it's like a guessing game on whether it will be good or not. Now I'm just saying I'm waiting for Kingdoms of Arda and Dawnless Days. Kingdoms of Arda, yeah, I think that's going to be great. I don't really follow them very much, but I think, you know, seeing the models and the designs, I think it's going to be awesome. Let's reduce his cheek guard a little bit. There we go. Have the beard come out a bit more. A little bit more messy. Make him tough, scraggly man. Rings of Power Total War. I don't know. I was disappointed with the Rings of Power production design. Because, I mean, Lord of the Rings, it's an exception. The amount of time that Weta, who are the people that did all the designing for it, the amount of time they had to make sure everything was perfect was mental. They had something like 5 years. Maybe I'm wrong there, but it was a long time to make all the designs. And so obviously they made it. They did iteration after iteration, and that's why I believe that Lord of the Rings aesthetic is just so perfect. You know, it feels so realistic. And actually, most films and TV shows and things like that today don't get any of that production time, or pre-production time. Sorry. And it's, you know, it's a bold thing for the studios to do, because obviously they were trying to get the rights and sort that stuff out, and the pre-production was happening alongside that for however many years. And it's surprising that the studios committed to that. You know, they agreed to fund several years worth of pre-production, which they would never do now. You know, they'd never give that much money and that much time, because time is money, of course, in the film industry. And and that's why you end up with, you know, Rings of Power that didn't have the time to refine the designs and you know, doesn't look as cool in my opinion as Lord of the Rings. But that is, of course, just my opinion. And I'm excited for season 2. Rings of Power. I think it's going to be. I hope anyway that they would have listened to the feedback. I know that the cast members, you know, they're all fans. They like what they're doing. They want to make it better. They're aware that people weren't happy with it. So we'll have to see. Hafner saying, how long have you been doing 3Ds? 3D, I wouldn't say I've been doing it properly ever, really. I dabble with a bit of hard surface modelling in Blender, but I stick to 2D mostly. Izzy still needs to watch Rings of Power. I need to watch it again, actually, because it's been a year now since it came out. And, you know, there's certainly areas of it that were lacking, but I want to watch it again, all in one go, without having to wait each week and see how it is. Give it a second chance. And I'll still be watching season 2 when it comes out. I imagine probably. I reckon season 2 will come out early next year. Maybe sort of mid next year, just because production ended fairly recently on Rings of Power season 2, and so now that's all down to the CGI, and it's a very CGI heavy show. That's an aspect of the series that I thought was amazing. How amazing the visual effects were. It was great, and I loved that they used so much practical effects. That was a big win, in my opinion. Igor was suggesting that Huskarls and Warlords champions could switch weapons. What are their weapons at the moment? Let's have a look. The Warlords champions are a two-handed axe, and the Huskarls are a longsword. Potentially, we can, if Maestro's still around, you could consider that. I'm sure it doesn't make much of a difference. Is it just because you want the Huskarls to have the axe? Let's have the whites of his eyes. Daddy 2 Foot saying Rings of Power should have taken inspiration from the Trello, particularly Mythlond Nobles and Malorn Defenders. I wish. One thing I wish is that they would have stayed with the Peter Jackson style. I know they want to do their own thing, but you know, it to slot into that universe that he's created. They don't have the rights, of course, to do that anyway, but I love the aesthetic so much of the Weta, the Lord of the Rings films, and I wish they would have stayed with it, but let's shade them in again, like so. Now we can add a little sparkle. He still looks very fat at the moment, so let's... see, a cloth is really tricky, especially on an angle like it is here. It makes him look like he's got a massive beer belly. We bring it in a bit more. Especially not using reference, which I really should be using. I recommend, don't do what I'm doing, please, if you're trying to learn how to draw cloth. Use a reference. You will learn twice as fast, 10 times as fast. just looks like he's got a massive beer belly. Malon Defender, sorry. Maestro saying, from my perspective, Rings of Power didn't actually break the lore that much, not necessarily more than Lord of the Rings. It did break a lot of what people thought was lore, or what people somehow cared about more, or what people somehow cared more about in the lore. I was thinking about it the other night. I was I was a bit shocked when they did the Mithril having healing properties and, you know, being born from the battle between the Balrog and the elf. And I was thinking, you know, when I saw it, I was like, oh, what have they done? They've made this up. So they obviously didn't break the law, but they made up stuff. But I was thinking about it, and it doesn't feel out of place in a Lord of the Rings world. It's quite a cool explanation actually and it's not out. It's not hard to believe that Mithril is magical and has magical properties. So yeah, we will see, and I assume that, you know, they've discovered that Mithril heals the sickness. They will form an alliance with the dwarves of Khazad-dûm, and they'll delve deeper, and the Balrog will come. You know, again, the Balrog waking early, I'm not concerned. I think it's cool. I think it's cool to show that. There are some aspects that bothered me, but all in all, I didn't think it was half bad at all. I'm excited. I'm excited to see. Maestro saying, as for Rings of Power, I just hope the stranger isn't Gandalf, but a blue wizard. It would probably never live up to popular expectations, but I think they'll do their own thing and go blue wizard with him. See, I really hope that too. I'm not sure. Part of me thinks that they would do that. They would make him a blue wizard. Surely they will do that. But then the other part of me thinks, but there's big studios putting pressure on them, and that they know that Gandalf, you know, is a selling point of Lord of the Rings. So I can see them putting pressure on it, just like they probably put pressure to put hobbits. Because I remember in interviews, someone said, "What is Lord of the Rings without hobbits?" They clearly haven't read the Silmarillion, because there's no hobbits in there. They didn't need to include any of that. They could have not shown the hobbits and spent more time developing Numenor and developing the elves. And I thought the Mordor storyline was really cool actually, with the reigniting the volcano and turning the land back into a wasteland. I thought that was really cool. There we go. I feel it's looking a little less like he's got a beer belly now. We could put some kind of embroidery, some basic crude embroidery on the cloth if you think that would look cool. Oh yeah, but back to the stranger. I hope that he is a blue wizard, and that his friend lands next season. Just because then it'd be more interesting. I think it'd be more interesting. It'd be more of a fan service to have him a blue wizard than have him be Gandalf. Jacob saying he needs a flagon full of Rohan blood. Oh, poor Izzy. Close your ears. Close your ears. Not my Gregory. Izzy wants him to be a nice happy chappy. Non-violent. He was very upset when we said he's holding a head. We don't need to make him holding a head. You're right. Let us have peace, not further the conflict. Samuel saying adding some Celtic / Welsh cultural flavour would be cool. Yeah, definitely. And even if I don't manage to do it in the stream, I will, when it comes to detailing this guy, I will go heavy on those kind of patterns and stuff. There's his pelt on his shoulder. Izzy saying the Balrog is basically me in the morning. Just let me sleep. Oh yeah, I think all of us can relate to that. It was me this morning, actually. Maestro is saying, have you considered this? Mithril's magical properties are a lie by Sauron, just like the elven wilting, just to make the elves desperate and forge the rings, despite them knowing he corrupted. Other BW might already be there. Judging the white woman saying he is the other. Oh, other blue wizard, right. Maybe. Oh, maybe. That could be. It could be. What I'm hoping is, because obviously there was a law break in that they forged the elven rings first. They forged the elven rings first, and Sauron knew of their existence because he saw them being made. So what I'm hoping very much is that he comes back as Anatar. Anatar, the fair, the beautiful, have a really handsome looking actor play him. And Celebrimbor is kind of, he needs to make more. He's so addicted that he just listens to Anatar. And then Galadriel and Elrond say, no, this is Sauron in disguise. It's Sauron in disguise, don't trust him. But Celebrimbor does, and he makes the rings with Sauron. So the fact that the 3 elven rings were made, he saw them being made, but he didn't actually see them being finished. That could be the way they get round it. I think that would be really cool. I'm really hoping he does that, because otherwise, how else are they going to do it? They're going to make it so that Celebrimbor forges them on his own? Or that Halbrand comes back? Halbrand can't come back to Eregion because everyone would know he's Sauron. So I'm hoping that they do Anatar. I am hoping against hope. And it'd be cool to see that. It's really weird talking about Rings of Power now, actually. It's been so long since it came out. It's weird to think about it again. Makes me want to watch it, which is the plan. I will watch it. Joachim saying, do you think Lord of the Rings Souls-like game could work? Potentially it would. I don't know. See, there's so many ways Lord of the Rings would work as a game and so many ways it wouldn't. I think it depends. Lord of the Rings games depend on how much care the developers put into them. Is he saying, don't mind me, the head would be pretty cool? I think... No, he's had a change of heart, is he? He's had a change of heart. He's heeded your words of wisdom. And he's gone to rehab. And he now spends his weekends fishing with the Salmon Clan. And goes on pub crawls. With the Rudar lads and the Dundon chads. Maestro saying exactly what I was thinking. Coming back as Anatar and saying I need more rings, mate. Yeah, I think I do hope, like I said, I hope they do that. But I think the theory I propped up earlier might explain why in the show they forged the rings despite them already knowing Sauron corrupted the process. Potentially. That's a very creative way of looking at it. I didn't think of that. That it's all a lie. but it was a strange thing in the lore as well. Why forge rings with Sauron's knowledge while knowing it's, well, Sauron's knowledge? Yeah. But then, isn't it that the 3 elven rings were forged in secret, so he didn't know they were made ever? Which explains why they were never corrupted. Well, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what they do. Vanguard saying we're making a paid DLC for voice acting too. Ha! One day we'll get voice acting out. We'll charge £50 to buy it. Is he saying make him hold a flagon of beer? Now that's more like it. My dog is crying very loudly downstairs. Absolute crybaby. The moment he doesn't have any attention. I was saying, okay, but you owe the decapitated head when you do the Falksman. When I do the Falksman, yes, of course. That guy needs a head almost. It has to come with it. It's part of the package. Maestro was saying, you're right. They were forged in secret. That's the 3 rings, the elven rings, but they were still tied to the one as they were crafted with Sauron's knowledge. Plus, I've always wondered what the trigger for the elves. What was the trigger of the elves to forge rings? Yeah, it's weird. I guess to combat him. But you're right, they were linked to it because they had to leave as well. They had to go to at the end they left Middle-earth. The ring bearers. There we go. We must see a picture of the dog. Ah, I don't have any pictures on my PC, but I will post one in the Discord general channel. What an excellent plug to join the Discord. If you want to see a picture of my dog, go to the general chat channel where I will post a picture of my dog. Let me find a funny one. Oh, he's crying so much. Silly boy. What a silly boy. Ah, there we go. His name is Bo, as in beautiful. And he is a silly Billy boy. Castmaster saying a flagon of appropriately priced ale. Because he knows what is best in life. Yes, a £3 pint of beer, a pint of ale. That he knows the right pub to go to. Not one in London. What clan is this Dunlanding a member of? I haven't really figured it out yet. I'd say the crow. He's got the helmet. But I don't want to make it that obvious. I don't want to make the differences that stark. Fairly subtle little hints. And it's I wouldn't say it's that they have any rivalry between the clans. It's more like they just have their own beliefs and their own worshipping deity of an animal. I'm not sure, but little brooches and little changes to the armour. That's what we'll go for, I think. And I realise everyone else in the Discord wouldn't have a clue why I've just posted a picture of my dog, but you are the lucky ones that know. Add bow in game. Oh, he could be a Dunland's warhound. He is everything other than that in real life. He's the biggest coward you'd ever find. You don't need a reason to post a picture of your dog. I agree. Brightens everyone's day. I got something. Can we have a Highlander concept for the pikeman unit? I do want to, I do kind of want to lean into a bit of that. Yeah, explore. I could try patterning the fabric, if you like. That could be interesting, you know? Adding sort of like a kilt pattern to the fabric, because that's not something any faction has. If I was to, let's try it quickly. It's on a different layer, so if we don't like it, we can always get rid of it. But I think that would provide quite a lot of variation. Joachim was saying, do you consider Total War AAA or AA? I think AA. Well, I'm not sure. You know, I'm not a pro gamer or pro knowledgeable game, or I'm not very knowledgeable about gaming, so I couldn't say really. You guys probably know much better than me. What do you guys think about this kilt pattern? I'll add more to it, but I really like it actually. I think it's nice and fresh. The tartan, yeah, that's the word, sorry. Slipped my mind. The tartan, yes. It doesn't AAA/AA/A/indie depend on budgets. I think CAA is AAA. Oh god. CA is AAA. Oh, I see. Okay. Depends on budgets. Maybe you're right. In which case, there's your answer, Joachim. And again, it makes you think, if CA is getting AAA budget, how can they make a game that fails? Surely they are making, they would make something that is insane quality, or that is perfect for fans, and yet they don't. Which is why you get mods like this, or you get other mods like 1212, because people want a Medieval 3 and they haven't done it, so the fans had to make it. It just makes me think they just have no grasp of what people actually want. I guess it's all about money at the end of the day, so whatever makes the most money. Portuguese omelette, I like your name. I like how some of the people make the Dunlandings a mixture of Celtic/Nordic folk. Yeah, I think it's a solid route to go down. There we go. So there's a first layer. Should we add another colour of tartan? Let's do it. Let's add a purple, but a darker purple. Izzy saying CA hasn't made a good game since Attila. Warhammer games were quite bad under the hood, but they just had a great IP to work with. Yeah, maybe you're right. But then again, Attila had so many bugs and stuff as well, and performance issues. The game that really shocked me was the Golem game. I don't know if you guys have played it. I haven't played it, but I've seen reviews about it, and it just looked awful. Like comically bad. And again, how could something like that be greenlit? And Lord of the Rings Total War not be greenlit? It's the unfortunate world we live in, alas. Ah, yellows. Yes. Is he suggesting adding a yellow to the tartan? Let's do that. A multicoloured tartan. But we must, of course, count ourselves lucky that, all we have to worry about is how good the games are in our current day. That's a very privileged thing to worry about. There we go, look at that. That is coming together very nicely indeed. Yellow down here. That'll give them so much vibrancy, so much culture. I think that's great. Great suggestions, everyone. You should join the mod as my team of personal advisors. Vanguard saying, in terms of modding support and opportunities, Warhammer is fantastic. It's just the agreement with Games Workshop that limits what we're allowed to make. But modding has never been better in that regard. Yeah, that's true. That we're not allowed to make mods for Warhammer that aren't Warhammer. That's the agreement. That is the agreement, so unfortunately we have to stick with it. There we go. Tartaned up. Looking magnificent. And I'll add some insignia to the belt buckle off camera. So there we go. That is the basis of our Dunland main line. there will of course be variations on this, but I think I'm going to round off the stream there today. We've done a fairly good job of fleshing out their character, fleshing out their culture. Thank you so much for the suggestions on the clans. That's been really cool. Just building a bit of fan backstory for them. That's always very good for factions that aren't shown in the films or the books, really. So thanks again for that. Yeah, and we've got a main line, so we can start to develop the elites and different variations, different clan aesthetics, and all this stuff. Is he suggesting a knife on the belt? I like it. What about a falx, a small knife at the front? Let's add a knife at the front here. I'm not sure how possible it is to do with Attila rigging, but we will see. Knife is the last thing we'll add, and then we'll call it a day. I promise. You can be free. How about we do like a... Actually, no, let's do a deer antler deer antler handle for the knife. Maybe that looks too fancy even. Although they're tier 3. These guys are, you know, they're not poor, these soldiers. To be able to afford a full set of armour like this, you are either fairly wealthy or you are in the service of one of the lords, you know, who pays for your gear. I could make his hand holding the knife, actually. But no. We're going to stop now. That is it. So that is what we're going to stop with today for the stream. Again, thank you for your suggestions. It's really fun to work with you guys and bounce off your ideas. That's great. And yeah, I guess you will soon see this guy finished and see more work on Dunland in the future. If you guys like the stream, and if it gets, you know, if it's popular, I will do more streams of these guys. If not, we can do custom generals. We could do even non-concept stuff. We could do some architecture icons. They're very easy to do, so I can sort of chat to you guys more. But yeah, thank you for coming along, and thank you for those people that stuck around all the way. And I'll see you soon. Bye bye.